Hey y'all, it's me, Queen J, back with a very special episode of Let's Get Uncomfortable. Now, as y'all know, we usually start with a bit of mindfulness, but we're gonna switch things up a little bit. We're gonna switch things up because this is the first episode that is audio visual. So I'm gonna switch things up just a tad, just a tad. So we got a special guest here with us, Dr. Corrin. She is a all around amazing person. I'm so happy that we have gotten in contact with one another and have stayed in touch over the years. But we're going to talk about self care, self love, and what that means, and everything in between. Okay? So I'm just giving y'all a topic because for those of us who are fighting invisible battles, I know that that's hard to even think of self love and self care and tending to yourself and things like that. So I'm gonna just get that to you straight. No chaser. This is what we doing. This is what we doing. Now, without further ado, we still gonna have our mindfulness. I just wanted y'all to have that so that y'all have that in mind when y'all keep an open mind about different things that we talking about. Because we talking about self love and everything in between. Okay, self care, all that, everything, right? So it is now time for us to pause, breathe, and relax.
It is now time for us to open our mind to be receptive to learning new ways of feeling in this lifetime. It is now time for us to enter a space of no judgment, just grace, as we learn how to pour back into ourselves so that we can be better for ourselves and those that are around us and those that interact with us on a day to day. It is now time for us to learn what it means to indulge in self care, guilty free, self love, guilty free. It is now time for us to unwind from a long day's end and return back to self so that we are centered and at peace. And it is now time for us to learn how can we love on ourselves. All right, y'all. I really hope that that gave you guys a sense of peace, a sense of woosah. Like I said, we have a very special episode. We have a very special guest here with us for our first audiovisual podcast episode. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Corrins.
Motivational speaker, and I am a healthcare leader. I am a registered nurse by trade. I have a master's degree in community health nursing. The community is my heart. And I have a doctorate in organizational leadership. Professionally, I have worked for health departments, I've worked for managed care, and more recently, I've had a leadership role in an organization that was responsible for providing health care to the underserved community. A little bit about me and who I am and what I am. I was raised by a single mother in the inner city. I was raised one of five by a single mother, and not in Cincinnati. I was raised in Toledo, and recognizing anyone who raised by a single mother with five children, all 2 years apart, there were some challenges that I experienced growing up, and the world told me who I was and what I was, and that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And I believed it, quite frankly, because sometimes the world will feed into you and make you believe you're less than, or you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you don't come from a two-family household, that you can't do certain things. And I am a living witness that it can be done. So I came to Cincinnati to just be a regular old nursing student, to get an education and live my life. But God had other things in store for me. I went through my tumultuous journey in nursing school because it wasn't I wasn't a 4 year student. It took me
Mhm.
7 years to get my first degree because I missed absolutely. Now the
We gonna
system,
give you praise. Give you praise where it's due.
come
Give
on
praise
now,
where
let's
it's
snap it
due.
up. Now the system put a lot of hurdles in my way. So
Mhm.
I had to leave the College of Nursing because they were trying to make me take classes over. And my family didn't have money and I could not pay for classes I've taken and got B's in to get A's in. So I just left and went to another school to finish my RN degree. But I ended up going back to the College of Nursing to get my bachelor's degree. I graduated with my RN in 97. I went to school in 92. So that's a whole 5 year gap of me going to
Mhm.
school and not hitting my goals. But then when I got my RN, I was able to get my bachelor's degree 2 years later. And then I went right back to school and got my master's degree. And what I realized on that journey is that I was smarter than what the world told me. I wasn't a good test taker. So my ACT score was like really low, like a 16.
Mhm.
And they told me that I wouldn't finish college because my standardized test wasn't good enough. So for
Yeah.
me, just being able to look back on that experience, and it was tough and it was difficult, and I believe what the world told me about myself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't smart enough and I wasn't good enough. And who do you think you are to think you can get this education? But I
Yeah.
think my journey along the way helped me figure out who I was and what I was, and helped me build confidence in myself and
Of
discover
course.
the power of self love and self care in my
Yeah.
day to day.
Especially when you're coming from this environment where you're constantly being shown, I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
I have no way to refute this. I don't have affirmations. I don't have the
Yeah.
meditation tools. Like, I have no books that are telling me like I'm a beautiful black girl that is worthy of getting everything that I want. Like, you don't have that representation coming up, especially back then. It's so few now, but it's like on the rise. But it's
Yeah.
still like, even when I was growing up, because we got some age gaps, but
Absolutely.
when I was growing
Absolutely.
up, I still didn't see that representation either. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, because a lot of times when you get told over and over and over again, you're not going to be anything or you're not going to amount to anything, you have no choice but to believe it. You're a sponge.
Yep.
You're still developing.
Yeah.
So that's very
And
valid.
I agree. How you mentioned affirmations, like
Hmm.
growing up in the inner city, no one's telling you to do affirmations. No one understands about mindfulness. Like it's not even a
Yeah,
thing. And but then as I expanded my mind and I was open to learning something new, is where I
hmm,
discovered the affirmations. And I
exactly.
discovered the power of that. You
Oh,
know, like I discovered
yes,
that and I understand that how it manifested in my life. And what I want to do is I want to give back to those young girls who the world threw them away and told them they're not good enough. I want you
right.
to know that you are good enough. You are worthy, and don't allow the world to dictate who you are, or even for you to even recognize like where you sit currently. Because I sat in
Hmm.
poverty, didn't have a lot of money. So if I allowed that narrative to be my entire life story, I want people to know no matter where you are currently, it does not dictate where you're going and your future. And honestly, all these accolades that I have, I never came here for any of this. I
Exactly.
came to be a nurse to take care of patients in the hospital. That's it. I never imagined my career would take me as far as it's taken me. So for
So,
me, it
mhm,
saved my life. Education saved my life, but I know that's not the road for everyone. But I feel
yeah.
like with self care and self love and how you're nurturing yourself and you're loving yourself, you can get there, but you have to understand who you are and what you are. And sometimes that's the rub that I think is hard for some people to really look in the mirror
Mhm.
and own who you are and what you are. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, that you just recognize who you are and what you are, and then be able to live a life that you're trying to achieve. I don't have to always be fighting and cussing and fussing. I can learn how to communicate and use my words, and
I love
and
that.
speak differently.
I love that. So, to elaborate on that, what you
Mhm.
just said,
Yeah.
how do you feel like in your personal journey? When did self love
come to you? When did you decide, like, okay, I'm giving back to me now? I done been there for all these other people. It's now my turn. When did you? How did that come about for you?
You know what? It took a very, very, very long time because not even understanding what that means. Now I know the
Mm-hmm.
shift in the world. People know what self-love and self-care is, but I think for me, I didn't recognize it. I got pregnant. I don't even remember. My oldest son is 27. So I was in college. I wasn't even a nurse yet. I was, so you have a
Yeah.
pregnancy, it wasn't planned. I end up marrying his father, had 3 children together. We were married for 19 years. And I think 12 years into the marriage, maybe year 13, I
Mm-hmm.
became really unhappy. And I became unhappy because I was taking care of everyone else and not myself. I was taking care of my husband. I was taking care of my kids. I was taking care of the house. I was taking care of my professional responsibilities, but I feel like I was left out. So I started to do some research and to kind of see like what is this? And what I learned was that it's just whole movement and really just self-love just for all the listeners. It's just really an appreciation of your own self-worth. It's prioritizing your needs, it's
Yes.
setting boundaries, and it's forgiving yourself because we're human, right? So all of these components of self-love, I didn't love myself. I loved myself enough to love my children, but I never said, well, what does Corrin want?
Say that again. Can you say that again,
Yeah, I
please?
never said, what does Corrin want? What does Corrin need in this moment? And I always put me to the back. Well, my kids need this, my husband need this, I gotta do this. But it was never a moment where I prioritized myself. So I realized that about year 13 into the marriage,
Uh-huh.
kids growing up, kids playing sports. I'm a nurse by trade, so self-care is always critical because my job is to educate the community on how we care for ourselves. So self care was
Yeah.
always there because I've been a nurse for 27 years, but self love
Mm-hmm.
was something new. Self
Okay.
love was something new. And I think people don't understand that. Like sometimes people say, well, it's like it's you being selfish, you concerned about yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not selfish. It's what do I need to make me whole? Or what are those things I'm doing to speak to my needs? So if I'm stressed out and the day is just over, the day is daying. The day is
Yeah. No.
daying. And what
I
am I
think.
doing to take a reset, take a step back? Because I always tell
Yeah.
everyone, you can do all these things because as Black women, we raised this world. Let me just say that we
Mm-hmm.
breastfed this world, and we can go back to slavery, right? The things
Mm-hmm.
that Black women have been through over the course of our history, right? It's to
Yeah.
take care of others. So historically, the world made us like we're this strong Black woman phenomenon, but not really being able to forget my dog. He sees somebody outside. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm listening to you.
Thank you. So, being able to like do those things because you can't pour from an empty cup. And a lot of times as Black women, we are stressed and we have anxiety, we have depression, we have these things, and we just keep moving throughout them, keep moving. But how are we
Mm-hmm.
caring for those things? Like, I think a lot of times in our community, as it relates to mental health, there's a huge stigma. Like something's wrong with you if you say, I need help, or if there's something wrong with you if you say, I need a break. And I think we need to start
Yeah.
destigmatizing those things because we're human. We break.
Of course. I think what it is also, to your point, when I was in college, I learned a lot about the superwoman effect
Yeah.
that Black women carry all the time. We're wearing this
Yeah.
cape. We're trying to save everybody within our inner circle or within the people that are around us that we're caring for. But so often are we being superwoman that we forget that we're human.
Yep.
We can cry, we can show emotion, we can sit in those uncomfortable spaces sometimes. It's okay for us to take up space, but I like I said, as I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to take up space.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like we had to silence ourselves before anyone else did. And so I think also dating back to slavery, the Black woman has always had to be there for others, but who was checking on her?
Come on.
Who
Yeah.
was asking her, "Do you need food? Do you need
Yeah.
let me take the baby for a second?"
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not.
And then if you even if you accelerate it to the crack epidemic, or even like,
Oh,
prison, the pipeline to prison, just all of these things that took our men away from us, right?
yeah.
And
That divided the families. Yes.
it broke the, so as women, I know that there's this whole conversation about strong Black women and being independent, but I know
That kills us. I will say that. That kills us very slowly over time.
it lit,
It does.
and it's called weathering. It's when you have this
Mm.
a large amount of stress internally, you take that stress on, and your body is weathered. It's tired. It's breaking down quicker because we are
Yeah.
taking it on the chin and we're keeping our head up and we're keeping it moving, and no one's taking the time to rest and reset to be able to be your best self.
Hmm. I think that that is so important because all the often I will hear like I'm hard on myself sometimes,
Me too.
even to this day. Yes, I'm human. Yes, I am hard on myself. But on those days that I'm hard on myself, I find myself going back and I'm like, okay, yeah, but I've never been in this space before. So
Correct.
how am I supposed to navigate something that I don't know how to navigate?
Correct. No,
How am I supposed to figure this out when I haven't been here before? Let me give myself a little credit. Let me give myself a little grace.
and that is
But that's
that's
hmm
the key. You go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just gonna say that's where I think the healing can begin, especially for Black women, especially for just people, because if we constantly hold ourselves on this pedestal of like, okay, I gotta be constantly moving and I can't rest because rest is a weakness, or I can't tend to my needs. What good does that do you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I 100% totally agree, because I feel like it's this culture of busy, right?
Yes.
Booked and busy, the book
Oh.
busy, right?
Yes, that's what we all want, right? That's what we all say we want. But when we're actually booked and busy, we're like, bro, I'm tired. I can't do all these things at once.
Absolutely. And I think, to your point, giving yourself grace. Like for me, I've been in nursing
Mm-hmm.
and healthcare for 27 years. I've been in the maternal child space forever. I could do it with my eyes closed. But me
Mm-hmm.
starting a nonprofit, starting my business, growing my business, to your point,
Yes.
I'm overwhelmed. I do maternal
Yes.
child health in my sleep, but managing books, managing payroll, trying to keep income coming in, it's overwhelming. And some days I just cry, and it's okay to cry. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Lord, you got to do this for me. I need a break. I need to walk away and do those things that I love to help me calm my mind. So there's tons of things you can do. Like for me, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows this, is a fun fact.
Okay, what's the fun fact? Tell me.
Up to this day, like all my kids, even though they old, I made them all
Uh-huh.
hats and hats. But it's just this mindless work, like or I play Tetris.
I absolutely love. So I was just gonna ask you, what are your favorite like mindfulness activities or like self care activities? It's interesting that you say crochet because I picked that. I wanted to make a dress. I was like, that is one of my goals. It didn't happen, but I'm still working on it. I have all the yarn. I have all the stuff, but I think those activities can really help you just unwind,
Yeah, yeah,
put you in a space of like, look, I have the world on my shoulders, or I feel like the world is on my shoulders. Let me just chill out for a sec.
yeah. And even when I talk to young women about even just like, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they think this like self care and self love is just this ominous thing, and I'm like, simple question: what do you do? What do you like to do that's mindless, like that just takes your mind off? Like those things people say, I read.
I re. Do you do you see?
And I'm like, perfect. And the one girl
Yes.
said, I cook. And I'm like, so when you're feeling stressed and you're overwhelmed, go to the bathroom, get a book, get to reading, get to cooking. One girl said she played Tetris.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some of the just what are those things that
This is a very nice. Like I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this.
right? But we're talking about,
Mhm.
we're having conversations with a purpose to educate the community.
Yeah.
How do we take care of ourselves? And when
Mm-hmm.
we're burnt out, and recognizing when that is, and what are your triggers? Like just talking to, like knowing your triggers. Like I know some of my triggers, like
Mm-hmm.
when I feel like I'm exhausted, I feel like I'm not being
Yeah.
heard, whether that's at home with my kids, with my man, and I feel like I'm being disrespected. Those are things that trigger me where I will act out. But then I
Mhm.
have to recognize, why am I doing that? Like, right? And
Mhm.
is it I'm stressed out, or is it I'm tired, or is it I'm overwhelmed? And being able to take a step back and say, I need a pause to reset. And I know some people can't do that because you may have small children, obligations, and things like that that you have to get done. But just
Mhm.
taking those moments, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes, to be able to, whether it's meditation. I love the fact that you did meditation before the call. Love, love, because I think people don't understand the importance of breath
Yeah.
and how it reset your entire being. Taking a deep cleanse.
I love that. Honestly, I love breathing. Ever since I
Yeah,
learned about mindfulness and I learned about actually breathing, because, well, trigger warning, if for anybody that does experience panic attacks, when I experience panic attacks, usually I'm hyperventilating. So
yeah,
I can't catch my breath.
yeah,
So it's crazy that the exact opposite is just slow your breathing down.
yeah.
Just focus on it. Just focus on it. You ain't gotta but just
Seriously.
focus on it.
Yeah,
Sit with it for a little bit. That's it.
yeah, and but then recognizing that that's what's happening,
Yeah. Be
right?
cognizant of like,
The panic attack. Like some people don't
mm-hmm.
even know what's that called. Like
Yeah, yeah.
because my in our community sometimes it's my nerves. My nerves bad.
My nerves is bad.
My nerves is to your point, calling a thing, and it's not a sign of
Mm-hmm.
weakness. It's just for our community. How are we acknowledging and identifying those things that are triggering us? And then what are those things we do to combat that? Journaling is a good one. Like even when I wrote my book, The Journey of Self,
Yeah.
Tapping into Your Inner Power and Purpose, even I journaled my entire journey writing the book.
Can
And
you say that title again? I want to make sure that everybody, the listeners, heard it.
of self discovery, tapping into your inner power and purpose. And it
Mm-hmm.
really is a wellness tool. It really helps people have healthier lives. It focuses on physical wellness. It focuses
Mm-hmm.
on mental and emotional wellness. And again, I talk about it from a perspective of wellness, of being happy. I mean, of
Yeah,
being
yeah.
healthy and not illness and not sick, right? How are we being mentally well? I tell everyone, you
I
know,
love that.
with healthcare, either you're
Mm-hmm.
going to manage it or it's going to manage you. So you
Woo.
make a decision. Either you're going to manage your mental health, your depression, or your anxiety, or it's going to manage you. You make a choice, right? And
I remember you and I had that conversation. Oh my good y'all. See, oh my goodness. I remember this. No, because it was when I was on that panel
yeah,
and I was feeling like, man, I was feeling like an imposter because I was taking anxiety medication.
yeah.
And you told me that there was nothing wrong with me having to take the anxiety medication because would you rather it control you or you manage it?
And doing those things that I know help me. Like a lot of times in my
Yeah.
family, because a lot of my family is still in the community,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still receiving services, and I'm like, if the medication helps you, what's the harm in taking it? Now, if you take it and it's all these wonky side effects, okay, maybe there's a conversation I need to have with my healthcare provider about
Yeah.
these. They're too much, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if it's something that I'm not sleeping at night, they give you a sleeping pill. Do you sleep? Do you feel better in the morning? Like what is the harm in doing things to make yourself feel better, right? If your car dirty, you go wash your car, you go clean your car out.
Say it. Speak it now.
You know, our bodies like that, to be able to do those things and, to be able to, if it's medication, whether it's going to see a therapist. I meet so many people, and what I love, this new generation, they're all for it. Some of the older folk, they're like, but I say that was one of the best times of my life. It helped me
Yeah.
realize who I was and what I was. And it's someone that's, if it's the right therapist, right? Because sometimes you got to find the right therapist, but they're
Yep.
feeding into you and helping you understand the turmoil, the trauma in your life, and helping you deal with it in a way that your mama can't help you, your daddy, your sister, no one can help you but a trained professional. And making sure that we're doing those things to, love on ourselves and care for ourselves physically. And then the
Mm-hmm.
book also talks about healthy relationships. I'm from
Love
a family that loves to fight and cuss folk out.
that. Me too.
And listen, and it's a huge part of me that will do that. But learning how do I use my words to communicate how I feel.
I'll say that for me, I always talk about this in the podcast, and that's never going to change because I was just thinking about it today. I was thinking about how reckless I was, or I would call myself reckless in the mouth because can recall like a conversation that I had had with my father where I was like, I don't get why people treat me this way, da, 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 da. And he was like, because you're mean. You're mean to them. You don't like the way that they treat you, but you treat them that way. And
Correct.
I was like, but I only do it because like I had all these different
Yeah,
excuses, right? All these different things that would come up. I'm like, I only do this because this is the way that they treat me. And
correct.
he was like, yeah, but if they're treating you that way and you want them to stop treating you that way, why would you continue to treat them the way that they're treating you?
Correct.
And
Correct.
I was like, but I'm a kid. Like, I had all these excuses, but
Yeah,
I realized like you have to look at the role you play in your own journey. You have to look at
absolutely.
that.
And even being able to apologize when you're wrong. Some
Yes.
folk don't want to be able to, or even to be able to create a boundary because that's one of the hardest
Yes.
things.
Whew.
Somebody know, right?
And standing firm in them. I think everything that we're talking about, because I don't want the listeners to think we're getting off topic, this is all about self care
Yeah,
and self love.
yes.
I hope that, yeah, because I feel like you said, it's this ominous thing. Like people think it's this all encompassing thing, but you have to break it down step by step to get to the wholeness of you. I'm gonna
Yep,
say that again. You have to break it down step by step to get to the wholeness of you.
yep. I
You
agree.
have
And again, self care is doing those things
to.
for
Mm-hmm.
yourself to make sure you're physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. And self
Mm-hmm.
love is an appreciation of who you are and what you are, flaws and
Yes. Yes.
prioritizing your needs. What do you need? Not what my
Mm-hmm.
mama need, not what my kids need. What do you need? How are we
Mm-hmm.
setting boundaries professionally and personally? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go to the mall and watch you shop. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I tell you, no is a complete sentence. No.
Woo! Can we talk about that for a second?
Let's talk about no is a complete sentence. It's a
No
complete,
is a complete sentence, but people don't see that. Do
yeah.
you realize, like, have you had conversations where you've said, no, I don't want to do something, and they're like, oh, but I want to know more. And it's like, can you respect my no?
That's it. I don't have to. It ain't got to be a long, like, drawn out reason why. It's just no. But if I care enough, I can
Yeah.
say I have X, Y, and Z. And I tell people all the time, like, doing nothing is doing something. And I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do something for you if it impacts mentally and emotionally my mental health. Mm-mm.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
I
No
love that. I
complete
really
sentence.
do.
But I know no gets hard because I was a people pleaser at one point.
So was I. So
Come
was I.
come on, team people please.
Yes, I'm gonna just tell you this.
Come on.
So my in the previous episode that I had, it's called the cause and effect of people pleasing. And just to run it back for a little bit, I said that I think the true shift in people pleasing is when you stop caring about the impact of what someone has caused you to feel on them. Like when you basically be like, okay, the outcome doesn't matter. My feelings matter more. I don't care how it affects you because you're the one who put me in this position in the first place.
Correct.
But
Yep.
if I'm thinking about your outcome, if I'm like, oh my god, it'll upset that person or it's gonna ruffle some feathers, I'm people pleasing
Absolutely.
because I'm doing it for your benefit, not mine, and I'm preserving your peace and not mine. And that's a word right there because I listen.
There, you listen. And I think the listeners need to catch that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're saying no, like, well, I don't want her to be mad at me, or I don't, she gonna feel like I ain't supporting her, and like,
Mm-hmm.
like, if they're truly your friend and they truly care about you or your family, like, if you say no, they're gonna say okay, and if they're not, question it. Because I
Exactly.
think when people put boundaries in place and start saying no,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy. It's not
Oh
easy.
no, you
It's not
get pushback
hard.
all the time, all the time. But
It's
it's all about
hard.
yeah. No, it definitely is because it's all about what comes after the pushback.
How do we again take it back to ourselves? If we need to engage in self-soothing practices, what does that look like for us after we've set that boundary? And then, or are we failing to do that? Are we simply just being like, well, that made me upset, but I don't actually need to go and write down that I was triggered at this time and this
Yeah.
is like, because there's that too.
Yeah. No, no, seriously. And it's that guilt, right?
Woo!
And you got to start engaging in self care without guilt. Like,
Mm.
but so why should I give of myself to the point that I'm ignoring all of my needs, but I'm making sure you're good? Who's making sure I'm good?
I think yes. Oh, that was so beautiful.
Hmm.
I think we also need to, like you said, there's this stigma where people think that it's selfish. But I saw this video on Instagram where a woman was saying it's not selfish, it's self-full.
Yeah.
Because you want to be full of yourself to care for you. You got to love on you. Ain't nobody just coming around giving out flowers. Like,
No,
that's
seriously.
not,
Yeah.
if you want to give yourself flowers, give yourself flowers. If you want to do things like, I got a question from one of my family members a couple of weeks ago. They were like, how do you just go on dates by yourself? I said, I take myself anywhere.
Lunch,
I will go to the movies.
dinner, lunch, breakfast. I ain't got to figure out.
I just like being in my own company.
That's it. Like I think people struggle. I've heard women who struggle with that, and I'm like, girl, what's the best
Yeah,
ever?
it's the
Nigga,
best time because you're so free. You don't have anybody, like, you don't have to answer to nobody. Guess what? I got to answer to myself. Do I want to go to the mall? I want to go home and read. Do I want to go to the movie? Yes, I do. Let me put on my good clothes. Let me go to
That's
the movies.
what movie I'm going to see. You know?
Exactly. Let me look at the movie time right now. And
Absolutely.
then I will say this, when I wasn't doing it, when I wasn't practicing like taking myself on solo dates or solo travel or anything like that, I was looking at other people like, you just went to the movies by yourself? That's
Yeah.
like a group activity, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
but you realize you're never alone. You're never alone.
Mm-mm. Not at all. And then and I think sometimes people have a hard time just being with themselves, right? Like
Yes.
and understanding who you are and what you are and being alone with your thoughts and even
Mm-hmm.
trying to evaluate what that means and like am I good enough by myself? I can go out with a bunch of friends and we can turn it on up and have a good old time, but I also like the
Mm-hmm.
solace of myself and just being with my thoughts and even if they bad thoughts and just like just had a rough day and I'm tired of this and just thinking through like, well, what was rough about it? Like, right?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel that way? Because I was frustrated and I want to cut somebody out, but I know I can't because I'm at work. you know, whatever those things are, you tell you
Yeah.
to be able to, you know, keep moving for as you move forward and go forward. But I feel like I've been doing solo dates forever, and people are always questioning me, and I'm like, I at this point in the healing work that I've done and on my journey,
Mm-hmm.
it took a while to get there. But I
Yeah.
for people listening, be patient with yourself. You
Yes.
have to practice self-compassion and
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness of yourself because we're human. There's not one person in this world. I think everybody think Beyonce perfect, but she ain't. No
Mm.
one's perfect, and how are we
You are
practicing
absolutely
compassion
right.
and giving ourselves grace and knowing we're going to mess up? And I think I read something that said you want to treat yourself like when your best friend has an issue and she's struggling with something. Treat yourself
I was
with
just about to say that.
the same compassion. Like, girl, you got it.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Do you talk to yourself like that? Or is it negative
Exactly.
talk? Is it negative?
Exactly.
You stupid. Why you keep doing that over and over again? Like, you know what? It was an honest mistake. It's your first time doing it. Girl, give
Mm-hmm.
yourself some. You okay? Do better next time.
Mm-hmm.
Like how are we engaging in that and
Yeah.
putting ourselves down to the point where it becomes, it's this self-worth thing.
Yeah. Because I don't think one thing that I think some people still struggle with understanding is that words hold power.
Mhm.
And
Power of
I
words.
talk, yeah, I've talked about this all the time, but
there is power in what you say, and there's power in the way that you say it also. So if you say, "Oh, I'm a B word," or you start calling yourself names, you're what is it? You're lowering your self worth
Yeah.
and you're invalidating yourself repeatedly.
Yeah.
But you don't realize it because you're trying to make it jokingly. But it's like your brain doesn't understand the difference between you joking about something
Yeah.
and you meaning it.
Yeah.
That's why for people who have like auditory flashbacks like myself, people you're holding on to those words that people have said for
Yeah.
a reason.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what they said, it's about how they said it.
Right. Yeah.
It's never about what someone says. It's the tone, the indication, the
Look,
diction, all that.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
even also recognizing that sometimes when people are saying things to you, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes it has a lot more to do with them than does to do with you.
Yes, I was just about to talk about that.
Yeah. Like you
It
know,
is very in the moment. It is very hard to be like, "No, this is just a mirror. This is just a mirror that is they're holding up to themselves and it's just projecting itself at you."
correct.
It's hard because you don't notice that until you have a level of self-awareness, or you're able to sit in that uncomfortable space with yourself,
Yeah.
so you understand, oh, I have flaws too, oh, they have flaws as well, they haven't sat with themselves yet, that wasn't really about me,
Correct.
that was more so to do with them, and let them be. I've come up with this new mantra of mine this whole year, and it's basically to be limitless.
Ooh, I
Take off the limit. Take.
so I just I feel like there's just this all this stuff that comes up because as human beings we have stuff that we deal with, but I think
Of
when it
course.
comes to self-care and self-love, like I know that people are like, well, how do I get started with it? Right. I mean,
Oh, yes.
there's many things you can do to get started. Like you mentioned affirmations.
Hmm.
Affirmations are feeding into
Woo.
yourself.
Affirmations are so powerful because it goes back to how you talk about yourself.
Yep.
I first discovered affirmations when I was first getting started with poetry, actually. um, I had basically did a little journal reading at an open mic, and there was another poet there, and it was like this crazy shift in the atmosphere
Yeah.
because all of a sudden she starts saying, "You are worthy, you are powerful, you are unique, you are all these different things," and I'm like, I feel like she's talking to me. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So I walk over and we're talking, and of course she had seen me perform, so we talked a little bit. But what she said was, I was like, why was that so powerful? She was like, because that's affirmations.
Yeah.
You affirm a belief in your mind, you're going to believe it.
Yeah.
You have to do it repeatedly. Like my therapist has me come up with five like keywords that I can simply just pick up, and then two that are harder for me, like if I'm going through a rough time. Like recently, I was going through a situation where I felt like my value was less than
Yeah.
less than par,
Hmm.
and one of the words that came to mind was, I'm disposable. Now that's not true, but
Absolutely.
that's how I was feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So my affirmation would be, I am not disposable. This is, I am not replaceable. You know what I mean? Like it's affirming that stronger belief in keeping my self-worth up,
Absolutely.
building my self-confidence. And that's not always going to be easy because it's not like you do it one and done and you're like, "Oh yes, I'm living off of this one affirmation."
Yeah.
Every day it's a consistent thing. Like I know listeners, y'all usually see me write on my mirror. I'm gonna do that here with y'all too. But like I usually write on my mirror all these different words that encompass me.
Yeah.
Good things, bad things, like that are just mistakes. Like if I have something negative come up, I'll be like, okay, I'm not perfect.
Correct.
I made a mistake. I can learn. Mistakes are for me to grow. Scars are just coming along the journey. You know what I mean? Like they are lessons. They're not something that I'm supposed to just hold on to and never let go of. So that is definitely how I go about doing my affirmations. I know there's different ways to do it, but for me, it comes from my thoughts, and then I just write them out
So how
because
often do you reaffirm yourself? Meaning,
mhm.
hey, get up and you wake up and you got your mirror and you write your affirmations in the morning, and then you go through your day, and then something happens and it shakes you. Do you read your affirmations then? And this is for the listeners. Do
Yes, I do. I do actually. I will write them in a poem or I will just write them out on my phone.
okay,
Like if I'm really struggling, I got to the point where I would just do voice recordings. I'd be like, you know what? I can't just write today. I need to
right,
say it. So
yeah,
I would be like, girl, you don't need to go back to that situation because that situation wasn't worth it. You are better. You are evolving. This is growth. Give yourself some damn grace and then click the phone off.
seriously though,
And just sit in that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I would say if I had to like count, I would say at least 3 times a day. And if it's a bad day, if it's a really harsh day, I will lean on my friends and I'll be like, look, I'm not with it today because I'm not always going to be with it. You're not always going to have affirmations on deck.
mm-mm,
Like I have affirmation cards.
yeah,
Actually, hold on. I don't know where they are. I'll get them, but I have affirmation cards and they're like the black version. Actually, hold on. I'm about to find.
come on, get listening. I got what you talking
I got
about.
it's culturally relevant. I tell you.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I have my mom actually bought them, but I have them as a bookmark. So I bet okay. So this one says, "I stand up for myself and others. I am a warrior." Um, and they are affirmations for bougie black girls that still love trap. She got them for me off of eBay or Etsy.
Oh, I gotta get those. I love that because I love travel
Yes,
too.
they are so cute. I don't know if you, yeah, well, I'll link it so that everybody can have some because that is definitely
Yeah, I
something
love
I look at all
that.
the time.
Just even your journey with your affirmations and
Yeah.
because sometimes people may feel awkward doing affirmations who've never done affirmations, right? Like you said, your
Oh yes.
helped you with that, but like people who like are starting out and like, well, I don't know what to say. Like, girl,
When I
the bomb.
when I first started, um, I actually first started when I was in middle school, but I didn't like them. I didn't it was very difficult for me to actually come up with nice things to say about myself because at that time I was extremely trigger warning here, but I was extremely suicidal
Yeah,
within my upbringing. And the guidance counselor was like, I need you to just write 5 things that you like about yourself. It was so hard for me to come up with five.
yeah,
And I'd be like, it was just so, like, I would just sit there and she'd be like, did you come up with five? I came up with one. And all the other four were mean,
yeah,
extremely mean and
yeah,
harsh.
yeah,
And she was like, what's going on? Why are we feeling this way? What's going on at home? And of course, when I'm expressing these things, you know, the guidance counselor was white. So it was like, I constantly was being told, like, you can't say what's going on at home or you're going to lose your family. So it was like, I got to pick and choose what I say. But that's why I say my situation is different. But when I first was introduced to them, it was like, I didn't know that it was affirming anything. I didn't know the real purpose of it.
yeah,
I just was supposed to be writing. I thought it was like homework. I didn't think it was going to be beneficial for me in any
yeah,
way.
yeah,
But affirmations are so much more beneficial than you can ever possibly understand.
yeah.
Because I don't know if we all Christian. I don't know if we all like, but I am.
I'm a Jesus lover, honey.
Okay, I'm a Jesus lover. And I learned from a very early age that there is power in the tongue.
Yep.
This is after my tongue was reckless, and this is when it started to become tame.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had a CD. I had to listen to this CD where this drummer slash spoken word artist was basically saying why she doesn't call herself these certain things anymore because it really makes her feel a different way, like when she moves throughout her life. And I was like, dang, she don't listen to certain music. She don't say certain things. And I realized these are all the things that I'm saying. Like, what's wrong with this? And I'm sitting there and I'm really digesting these words and everything that she's saying. And I'm like, wow, you can't say certain things because you're putting that on you.
Correct. Yeah.
And you don't realize it. You're doing it subconsciously.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think even like as you were talking about like
Mm-hmm.
when you were younger and the counselor was asking you like to write down 5 things, I would even tell everybody who listening, like if you are struggling with
Mm-hmm.
tell me 3 things good about yourself and you're
I would say start with 3. Yes, for sure. Because 5 is
good,
a
but
lot.
even if you can't think of anything, what would you say like your closest friend would say about you?
Ooh,
Right?
that's a good one. I didn't think it. See, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about.
I'm like, okay, I don't know, but what would your friends say? Oh my gosh, she a good listener. Oh my gosh, she cooked
Yeah.
good, and I just, and she always give good advice. Like, do
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes with the things people say about you can help you start to figure out, like, I am worthy. Like, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
benefit to some people, right? People
Yeah.
like they fool with me,
Mm-hmm.
like being able to do those things. And because I know some of this stuff is like, oh my God, how do I get started doing it? And I got all
Of
this stuff,
course.
I can't pay my bills. I got this going on. How am I supposed to have all this self-love stuff?
Start small. That's why I say you have to start
Yeah,
small.
yeah.
Because if you look at it from the big picture, you ain't never gonna get started.
You're gonna be
I
overwhelmed.
learned this. I learned this from my godmother last year. Shout out to her.
Mama.
she had visited my apartment and I was like, okay, I want this, and this. And she was like, where your couch at? I said, what you talking about? Where's your TV stand? I just ain't got that yet. I'm gonna get it. What do you have that you why don't you have certain things? What is going on? I was like, because I have all this in my cart. I just haven't bought it yet. She was like, pick with one thing
Right.
at a time. You trying to get everything all at once, you're not gonna be it's just not possible.
Right.
You're gonna get overwhelmed. And you're never gonna buy anything because you're so overwhelmed. You're like, dang, I don't have enough money to
Yeah.
get everything all at once.
Yeah.
Go slow. That way you build it up. And I'm like, I was so adamant. I was like, I wanted to be right so bad.
Yeah.
But then I took a step back. I took all my emotion out of it and I was like, dang, I called her up and I was like, guess what? I bought a TV stand. She's like, thank God. I said,
Yeah.
listen, I know I didn't have a TV stand for almost 2 years, but listen, I heard you loud and clear.
And
I heard you loud and clear.
I tell people, listen, it's like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a
Mm,
time. And I think that's what your God
one,
was saying. Like you got all this
yes.
stuff. What's the most pressing need?
Mm-hmm.
And then once I get that, and then what's next? And then what's next?
Yeah.
Keep you
But
keep
do you find that that's hard? Do you find that there's difficulty in that? Because I genuinely find that there's difficulty in that sometimes.
no, it is, and I think it takes time and being patient
Mm,
with yourself and giving yourself grace to say
okay.
it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. It's a fire
Yeah.
hydrant. It's like, oh, you're overwhelmed, but just a little faucet that go drip, 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 and let me drink
Mm-hmm.
that because it's more manageable. So it's hard, but like I always say, what's my priority?
Mm-hmm.
When I got a divorce and I filed for divorce, me and my kids moved out, and that's a whole other story of itself. However,
Mm-hmm.
me like I had my kids had furniture. I didn't have a bed for 6 months, but I was
Mm-hmm.
okay as long as my kids had a place to sleep. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get my bed. So I got my
But your priorities, I see.
because I had to put,
Okay.
like, do I want to hold my whole room decked out? I do, but there's other
Mm-hmm.
things that need to be done that's more pressing. And my little
Mm-hmm.
air mattress is working just good as it is, and I'm okay. And I'm okay.
And that's how some people view healing. Some people view healing as yeah. Some people view healing as they view it as man, I'm gonna be healed when I get it all together. I'm gonna get all the money first. Let me get all my money. Let me stack my money. Then I'm gonna go heal. What
No,
did you do with all that money? Where's
uh-uh.
it sitting at?
It's a journey, and
And
any
that's
life.
yeah.
And 'cause I
Mm-hmm.
tell everyone, like, are you the same person you were when you were 20, 15? It's a journey, and you grow and you evolve, and so even in your healing, Like, you may think you've healed from one thing and then some comes up and you're triggered again, and I'm not fully
Woo.
healed from it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
recognizing that, but also again, giving yourself, being compassionate with yourself. Like, I
Have so much
know what
grace.
grace, like you got to just be like, I did this thing. I'm not proud of it, but I'm
Mhm.
human, right?
Mhm.
And being able to take a step back to be able to continue on your journey. You have some setbacks. Some things work perfectly, some do not, but being patient with yourself. Like,
Mhm.
even, and I can equate it to riding a bike. How many times you fall?
Yeah.
A million. Anytime you
I
learn,
don't think I don't think we get that. I don't think I get that representation in healing enough though.
yeah,
It's
seriously, because
like
you
we
fall,
always think about it like, okay, let's just do
yeah,
everything all at once. Let's go. I'm ready.
yeah,
And then when you start to actually heal, you're like, wait, I'm peeling back layers that I didn't. Hold on, wait. This is uncomfortable. Wait, I'm not ready. Stop. Like, but that's what this whole. That's why I said let's get uncomfortable because healing is not comfortable.
oh
You're
no,
not about to be. I'm not sitting in this. You see, I've been changing. You see, I've been. I'm not comfortable talking about some of these things, but I'm growing
correct,
as I'm talking about it.
yeah,
Think of healing like shedding layers. I
yeah,
always talk about how seasons change.
yep,
I always talk about leaves and plants and in my therapy sessions all the time. And whenever I have a situation that like I leave or they leave my life or they're no longer in my life or whatever, I view it as okay, I'm a plant, I'm a tree, I'm still
yeah,
growing.
yeah,
And in the winter, my leaves are going to get crunchy and they're going to fall off.
yeah.
It's necessary for that to happen so the growth can take
I
place.
agree.
Everybody is not meant to come along with you on a journey. And that also means that every situation ain't meant to just, you ain't meant to hold on to everything. You're just not.
Absolutely.
And that is the hardest part because when we think of healing, I feel like the first thing that people usually think of when we're thinking of healing is, oh, okay, I gotta forgive and I gotta have everybody with me, you know?
Mm,
But you don't think about letting go of things so that
correct.
you can make room for new.
And that's the difficult part with healing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you got to let go of stuff, it may be your good TT that you've been with
Mm.
forever, your friend you've
Yeah.
been with since second grade,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's hard work, but I say on your healing journey, as you're healing and you're moving along to your trajectory of your life, allow yourself to be.
Just be.
Just be, and be okay with uncertainty.
Mm.
Be okay with that. I don't know what this gonna look like. I'm scared as hell, but I'm about
Because
to do.
that's happening. Yeah, trust me. The whole time I'm talking, the
Yeah,
whole time we are discussing healing, I hope y'all picked up on the theme. It's uncertain. You're going into unknown territory. But guess what anxiety is? Unknown territory. Guess what depression is? Unknown territory. I'm just saying,
yeah,
if we're talking about wellness, we can't be well if we're constantly holding on to the sickness.
correct.
And if we're trying to be well, that's not something that we've known before. So how can we walk into the unknown with the things that we know, which are ill? We can't walk into wellness. We can't carry that into wellness. It just can't. That's why I said you gotta let it go.
Yeah,
You
no, I
gotta let some
agree.
stuff go.
And I always tell people, like, and I know healing it's hard, but think
Yeah.
about other hard times you've been through.
Mm.
Like, just because everyone has had hard times,
Yes, of
whether
course.
one, loss of individuals or whatever it's been, but you were able to get
Hmm.
through it and you dealt with it, right? And what was that skill set? Am I just a positive person? I use positivity to get me through, or am I
Yeah.
a person who like just needs someone to kind of hold my hand and what are those things that you could use for that healing journey? Because you're gonna need it.
Yeah. What the tools? Because what I want to say is when we're talking about letting things go, you're picking up tools to replace that.
Correct.
Tools for you to carry into your next season, into your next obstacle, and you have to be willing to let go. I
Correct.
heard a very powerful quote from my very close best friend when I was going through a really rough time.
Yeah.
She told me, she said, I think so, basically what I've been saying, which is so often in healing, we hold on to our past mistakes or our past because we're like, we need it, it's a crutch. But at some point, we have to let go so that we can go somewhere else. And we have to allow ourselves to be healed from that. And I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna reference the last episode. We have to break agreements with that so that we can get to a different contract, a better place for us to be mentally, emotionally, physically, all of that, all encompassing. Because, like I said, you cannot, well, I used to say this a lot, but you can't heal in the same place that you got sick.
That part. I no, I love that. I 100% agree with that. And again, I'll say it again. Give yourself grace. You're gonna
Mm.
have some
It's
really
really all about grace.
well, grace.
Extend that grace to yourself.
Just I'm gonna have some really good days, and I'm gonna have some
Mm-hmm.
days like, well, I reverted, and I'm sorry. Like I went back to the old me, but not like I know you stupid. I told you you stupid. You weren't gonna be able to do nothing. Give
Mm-hmm.
yourself grace and don't. And I tell people, don't hang yourself on the cross, and don't just
Mm.
or don't let people hang you on the cross. Because people will try to put you up on that cross and say, well, you did this and you was that person and you
I struggle with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest.
come
I'm
on.
gonna be honest. Full transparency. I struggle the most when people bring up my past
Mhm.
and try to make it seem like that's what I'm doing now.
Correct.
Simply because I know the work that I put in to be who I am now,
Correct.
but I know that that is somebody that will always be a part of me,
Correct.
not necessarily um what is the word that I'm thinking of? Not necessarily me who I am now,
Yeah.
but it's going to be a part of my identity because that was who I once was.
Yeah.
And I think that's challenging for anyone to have to kind of sit there and face the mirror all the time and
Yeah.
say, yeah, I can acknowledge that, but I don't have to be that way no more. Because
Right.
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
When you say, I don't have to do that anymore, because you know how easy it is to be familiar with being reckless and you slip right back into it. You're like,
Right.
oh, I don't have to do that no more. I'm good.
Absolutely.
I'm good. But the tests do come. The tests do come. They do.
Every day. Every day. And I think standing in your truth, right?
Mm.
I feel like my power is not allowing someone to tell my story for me. I tell my own story.
I love that so
Right?
much.
Because to your point, people will try to hold these things and say, well, you did this and you used it. And I did. But guess what I'm doing now? And I did. So I'm taking my power back from you. You're not going to hold these things like, oh, you're this horrible person. I did do some bad things. But guess what I'm doing now? I'm working on myself and I'm not that person anymore. I'm just not.
Exactly. 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 And there's beauty in that. There's so much beauty
Oh my God.
in healing, but there's also some pain, and
Hmm.
that's okay. If you're going through a season right now where you just don't see a way out or you're fighting the invisible battles, I really want you to know that you're not alone in that fight. And I also want you to know that if you can find just 5 minutes of the day to just give yourself a moment to just breathe. I don't care how long the breath is. You can scream, yell, but for those 5 minutes, allow yourself to know that you will make it out of whatever obstacle that you're in right now because you've done it before.
Absolutely.
And the obstacle probably was far worse than the one that you're in now. It's just similar to the one that you were in before.
Yeah.
But you have the tools. And if you don't have the tools, be patient with yourself in learning how to get the tools. Be kind to yourself as you say, hey, look, I'm not doing so well mentally. I need some help emotionally from the people that you care about the most or the people that care about you the most.
Yes.
Because that's hard to do.
Correct.
It's not easy to take that first step and say, hey, I need to go to therapy. It's not easy to be vulnerable with yourself or with anyone and say, look, I'm just not doing okay, man. I'm just not doing okay. Because
Yeah.
so often we get caught up in this narrative of don't nobody care, don't nobody care. I can't tell you how many times I've scrolled on my Instagram just this week alone, and I've seen this post that keeps saying, what's one of the hardest quotes that you've heard, or one of the hardest lessons you've learned in life? I went through the comment section, everybody was saying nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares, people don't really care about you like that. And I'm like, dang.
And really, people, there's people who love you and who
Yeah.
care.
Don't focus on those people. If you think it's them people, there's other people. Cause I used to be, I'm saying that as someone who used to say the same thing. I used to go through the things that I went through and I'd be like, nobody care. I'ma just hold it in. Nobody care.
Yeah.
When I finally spoke up, everybody that cared stepped up and was like, no, why didn't you say anything to me? I'm mad. But I'm not mad that you I'm not mad at you, but I'm mad that you didn't tell me because I could have stepped in and helped you. And I'm like, I didn't think that I was of value, so it
Yeah.
ain't had nothing to do with you. It just had more so to do with my mind,
Yeah. And then even
and
after
that's
they
hard.
value, how do you help somebody feel like they're of value, right? Because what
Yes,
you're talking about is a real thing.
yes,
Feel like they're worthless and no one cares
yes.
what I'm going through and I'm just being dramatic or I'm this and I'm
I
that and all
know.
these things that people put you in a
I get
box.
emotional every time. I'm sorry.
We love emotions, but
uh,
how do you do that? That let people know that you people care about you.
you have
Like
to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself first, because if you constantly lying to yourself and saying I'm fine, I'm straight, I'm solid, nobody else is going to. They're not going to knock. That's where it comes from.
yeah,
If you're trying to get somebody to open the door or trying to get someone to check in on you, they got to be aware of a problem to begin with. They got to be aware of something going on. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this audio actually where they say post a time when nobody know that you were going through your worst struggle and you were doing whatever. And I watched a couple of them, and every single one of them, the person is just dancing out at the club, partying or doing whatever, but they're going through their worst time.
they're masking it.
They're masking it. And if we get so good at masking it, we can't be mad at people that can't pull up that mask off because we got the mask on.
Correct.
We got the mask on.
And I think when people say, "How are you?" being honest in some days and saying, "I'm not good," and not saying, "Oh,
Don't give the superficial answers. I
I'm
can't stand the superficial answers.
good." And for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty tough person that, like, emotionally in my family, it wasn't something that you do. You just, but as I've gotten older,
Yeah.
being very transparent about how I feel. Corrine, how are you doing today? I'm not. I'm not. Is the day gonna get better? It will.
Yeah.
Now I'm not doing well. What can I do for you? Can you just listen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of
Just
course,
sometimes you just
because
wanna get off your chest, and I'm pissed off, and because I think a lot of times as girlfriends and sister girls,
whew,
you know, the question
mm-hmm,
is always, do you want me to listen or do you want me to help you solve?
mm-hmm.
It's the difference because sometimes people just a lot of they just want to hear like just to feel heard.
Sometimes people just want to be validated in their experiences.
That's it. That's it.
Sometimes people are not looking for a solution. Sometimes people are looking for the I hear you.
I hear you.
I hear you. I validate every I'm reassuring you. Whatever it is, we're gonna make it through it. You're gonna make it through it. And I understand that this is hard for you. Sometimes that's all they want to hear.
That's
But I think so many people get caught up in like, oh, I need to give my unsolicited advice because I'm good at giving advice.
correct.
And my pastor said that a lot of us feel like we need to give advice because it's the advice that we would give ourselves or it's what they're asking for, but we're forgetting the actual question, which is can you just be an ear for me? Can you just be like, can I just rest on you for a little bit? I'm
Yeah.
hitting a wall, but can you? Because sometimes we be trying to push through them walls. But I saw a quote that said, sometimes that wall is there for you to rest.
Ooh, that's good. Good. Ooh, that's good. Good. Ooh, that's good. Y'all,
sometimes that wall.
y'all better catch that. Catch that.
Sometimes that wall is there for you to
I love it. That is key, right?
Yeah,
Like like trying to have it all figured out and trying to like, and I can make it through and I'm this and I'm that, but just like being there for people and showing up. And sometimes you got to show up for people when you maybe not at your best, but somebody's
yeah,
more worse off than you. And
yeah.
yourself, and not that you got to put yourself second, but in that moment where my friend is saying she's not
Hmm.
well, it ain't about me. So when
It ain't
some
about
people
me.
be like, well, I got all this going on and she talking about this, it ain't about you right now. And just hold on for a second.
Yeah,
That
your
person needs
time
to
will come.
be
Your
there.
time will come. Because if it's a reciprocated thing, pour into self, pour into that person. That's what it looks like. The mutual friendships, they all grows when they pour into one another. If it's one sided, it's unbalanced. If it's together, it's balanced. I say that as someone who has been in a lot of one sided things
Hey,
and not seen them be one sided, or saw them be one sided and was like, well, I love them, so I'm just gonna care. People pleasing. There we go.
no,
There we go.
and
Yeah.
even I've had friends tell me,
Hmm.
because I am like just who I am as a person. I'm the glue in my
Yeah.
family, in my girlfriend group. I'm always just want to be like, how can I help you? I'm always there for you. Like just, making sure people are good. And one of my
Hmm.
good girlfriends from about 30 years plus ago, and she said, every time I talk to you, I feel like you have it all together. So I never call you and say how you're doing. Because I feel like you have it all.
Ooh, I'm not ready for that one. Oh man,
You
I
know,
was not ready for
yeah,
that, Doctor
and
Corrin.
she
No.
told me that it hit home because I'm like, people do it all the time, but and I know I know historically I'm the glue, but sometimes the glue get tired, baby. Sometimes the glue is falling apart. And just and for people to see it and to know it, and I think that's a hard place to be in. Like, and she even says, so even she calls me now, like, how you doing? No, seriously, how you doing? Because versus I got this going on and I got that going on, and just she's, vomiting her day on me versus even trying to recognize that I may be the air quote strong person because it's just who I am. I'm a great listener, but I don't have it all together. I know I speak positivity and all these things, but every day ain't positive. Like today ain't been a good day.
Yeah.
Today wasn't a good day. However, I know that there's a greater good and I push through to be able to come and speak to you and speak to your audience because I know there's strength in that. And I want you to see that I'm not this person that's perfect. I'm an imperfect person. I'm an imperfect person working to be better and do better every day of my life. And I just want to give it to others to say, we ain't got to have it all together.
I love
It's
that
big old
because
middle finger.
whew, no, I absolutely love that because that actually hit deep for me
Yeah.
because I was talking with my best friend like last week and we checked in on each other
Yeah.
and I got done kind of just letting everything out that I had bottled up and everything. And she was like, I had no idea. And I'm like, I know. Because I didn't want to. Like, I literally, I like, as soon as I was done, I was like, oh no. She was like, no, 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 no. No, we can, it's okay. This is what this was for. We were catching up. I did not know that this is what you were experiencing. I'm grateful for you for telling me, da 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 da. But I was over here feeling like, oh my God, I clearly am showing her that I don't have it all together. Or I'm like, like I was breaking. I was like you said, I got tired.
I'm tired, and I just, sometimes I just want to like vent and cuss everybody out and then when I'm done, like, oh, girl, that was so good. I feel much better.
I feel so much better
I don't want
because there's so much power. Yeah, there's power in being able to. Um, she actually said this too, but there's power in being able to vocalize what is going on, identify what is happening around you, and what it's doing to you,
yeah.
versus practicing in the opposite of self love and self care and
Yeah.
self neglect.
Correct.
Because I think so often as someone who used to do it until now, but self-neglect is definitely real.
It is. Mhm.
Definitely,
Massage,
definitely.
all that.
I want a massage so bad, but I keep putting it off because I got other things to pay for. You should get yourself that massage. I'm gonna book my massage after this.
Dude,
After this,
oh,
okay?
you know,
Because
and get you to that
yeah,
space, you know, but just y'all listen, y'all, everybody listening, y'all just gotta forgive yourself, be gentle with
yes,
yourself. We are human. We are human, human, human. And I don't know who said it. I think the great and the late and great Aaliyah. Dust yourself off and try again.
yes, she did say that.
The late and great Aaliyah, dust yourself off and try again. Tomorrow's a new day. Today sucked. I was
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. I felt helpless. You know, I got all this stuff going on, all this incoming. I'm over it. But tomorrow gonna be a better day. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna be intentional about my day. And even if it
Yes,
ain't, it's going to be a good day. And to not sit and self-loathe and negative self-talk.
that's easy. Yeah, that's easy to do because that option is always there,
And
and it's a lot harder to build yourself up when you're in a negative place.
yeah,
And if you ever feel like that, don't hesitate to lean on the people that care for you. I keep saying it because it's so real. Because I'm gonna end it with this. When I was going through my worst time, nobody knew
right,
until I was at my breaking point. And the first thing that they said to me was, I had no idea. I
correct,
would have done so much more for you.
yeah,
I would have been there for you. And so if you feel like you don't have any value or you're not able to find it, you're just in a dark space, like I said, it is okay to admit that. Because that's the first step. That is the first step. It is not, this is self care, is again acknowledging that you are worthy to be cared for by yourself, right? And self awareness is you acknowledging, okay, I'm aware of the space that I take up. I'm aware of the things, the impact that I have on other people. Okay. Another level to that is self love. Because self care eventually grows into self love. It's you loving every part of yourself, your flaws, your imperfections, your mistakes, like whatever it is, your body. If you got body dysmorphia, baby, that's real. We could talk, I could talk about that next time. But I'll just say this. It's real. I experience it on a day to day.
yeah,
It's different for every woman. It's different for everybody because men experience it too.
absolutely,
But what I will say is this: if you start small, you'll be amazed at how big the impact makes in your life. Take a bubble bath. Give yourself some bubbles, some Epsom salt, and I promise you, you'll just be like, "What? This is nice."
and get off social media some days. Give yourself a social media break because
Detox for a little bit. You're right. I was gonna say that next, but that's a touchy subject. People love their phones, okay? You go ahead.
so connected, and that phone's like, well, she looked like this, and she doing this, and it's this comparison. But maybe
Comparison is the thief of joy.
come on, an hour, and just be with your thoughts, and
Mhm.
be with yourself, and enjoy the bubbles, and how the water feels against your skin, and how you're relaxing, and you're just your
Yes.
breath in that
Go.
moment.
If you want to start with one thing, start with the breath.
The
You
breath.
don't have to, and you don't have to sit there for 15 minutes. Start with five. Maybe start with three.
I like three.
Start with three. I like three. Five is a little long to be breathing, but three is cool. Three is a cool soft spot. But
Yeah,
if y'all need to be intentional
yeah,
and you're trying to find a space where you can just decompress, start with your breathing. Close your eyes for a second and just breathe. I know not everybody has that, but try that. And I promise you it's gonna make a world of a difference. Oh my goodness. This was an amazing episode. Thank you so much for being the first
um,
visual guest. Oh my, I'm air hugs. Oh my gosh.
I appreciate
Oh wow.
the conversation. I thank you so much for the opportunity to come talk to your listeners about self love and self care. I know we went all the way around the mulberry bush and back,
Mm-hmm.
but it was some
But that's what we do. They know.
pearls of wisdom and some things in there that you can take away and apply to your life. My
Yes.
final thoughts: love yourself, love you, love yourself, give yourself grace. He said, I thought you did it. The conversation. Hopefully, you'll have me back as a guest.
Of course, I would love to.
I would love to come back
The
to your podcast. This is amazing.
this was amazing. So this has been Queen J with Let's Get Uncomfortable and with the lovely Dr. Corrin, author, philanthropist, nurse, affirmation
Community
goddess. I'm saying that.
engagement person. Love it.
Yes. Can you send me your book link?
Sure can. I can send you your book
Okay.
link. I can send you my journal link. Mind, body, and soul and love. Focuses
Mm-hmm.
on mental health, physical health, spiritual health, finding your purpose, and then love and how do you have healthy relationships, romantic and personal. Girl, listen, I gotta come back. You gotta bring me back. Oh yeah, I got tons and tons of boxes for me.
Okay. You will come back and we will talk about self care boxes and what that looks like.
Please, I would love to come back. Right?
All
Bye,
right. Thank
y'all.
you. Bye. All right, y'all. That was incredible. All right. So, like I said, thank you for seeing and hearing me. This has been amazing. This is the first, not the last, audio visual of Queen J Studio. Thank you for seeing and hearing me. Peace. Mwah.